On this part 2 episode of Dad Sews, we're going to finish our Eno Style Hammock with the pocket to make it all self-contained.
Dad Sews! Dad Sews! Dad Sews! Dad Sews! Dad Sews! Dad Sews! This is how it goes with Dad Sews!
Okay, if you missed part 1, you can go to dadsews.com or dadsews.com/YouTube. That'll take you straight to YouTube and our playlist, and you can check it out. Now, our hammock will have a pocket hanging from the middle of it that you can stuff your sunglasses in, or your sunscreen, or a favorite book. And then when you pull them all out, the fabric will fold in on itself into that pocket and have a nice drawstring closure. Now, this is the first time I've done this sort of thing. It's the first time I've sewn ripstop fabric with the hammock, and it's the first time I have made a drawstring bag, especially a drawstring bag that has to attach to something else. I even asked some friends, some sewing friends on Facebook, how they would do it, and they weren't really sure how they would attach the bag after making the hammock, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay, now what I've done is taken 2 pieces of ripstop nylon and I've cut them in the size of a big hardback book that I might be reading on the beach somewhere. And I cut it oversized, and then the blue piece is actually cut even longer because that's where we're going to attach it to the hammock. Now, if you watch part 1, you know that this hammock is really just a trial run that I'm building for my 2.5-year-old son, Ollie Mack, in hopes that he might sleep better at night, because hammocks have been known to help cure insomnia, give people better rest, and even for people with autism and connectivity issues, it's been known to give them that hugging feeling that calms them down and gives them a deeper, better sleep. So he really doesn't need to put books or sunglasses in the pocket, but it would be nice to be able to take down the hammock, fold it in on itself, and then throw it in the closet when we don't need it. Now, again, this is the first time I've sewn this type of thing, but we're going to jump into it together, and hopefully it comes out great. Okay, now what we're going to do is a zigzag stitch around the edge, but we're going to make sure to leave a hole for our drawstring. And then we're going to turn it inside out and sew it to the hammock. So I'm going to do a quick zigzag stitch around the edge. I'm going to move over to the sewing machine. Okay, now what we're going to do is sew a zigzag stitch all the way around the edge of this. It'll protect the edges from fraying, and it'll also make a basic pouch. We could actually finish there, but I want a drawstring in the bag. Now, I could use the serger that recently arrived at my house, but I haven't re-threaded it from the stock thread, and it has all different colors, and I wanted to make sure I got this part 2 out to you guys in time. So we're going to sew all the way around, with the exception of right here. We're going to leave a hole so that we can insert our drawstring. Now, I could mark it, but I'm probably just going to eyeball this and leave the hole right there with my zigzag, lift the foot up, and then continue on around the bag. So here we go. All right, now I am going to be very generous with my seam allowance because we're going to trim this after we're done. And we have plenty of room when I sized it bigger than the book. So there's lots of extra for us, and we're not really worrying about that. Now remember that once we get towards the top of this orange fabric, I'm going to leave a hole so that we can run our nylon cord through, and that way we can have a drawstring. I was going to use paracord that I got at the store, but I had an old one of those folding chairs that comes in its own bag. You know, the ones from Walmart, Target. We probably all have one sitting in the garage somewhere. I went ahead and just stole the line from that. Okay, I'm going to lift up my foot, and I'm going to move this down. All right. Try to keep the same seam allowance, and then pick it right back up. I'm not really worried about back stitching with this zigzag. Like I said, this is a test project, but I think it'll be fine. With the zigzag stitch, it stitches so many times, I don't think it's going to tear at the drawstring area. Now I'm going over just this plain blue fabric as well because I want to make sure that I don't have any rips or tears, you know, or frays on the edges of it. This nylon fabric isn't really supposed to fray, but you know, you always worry about that. So I'm just going to go over it. If I don't need to, then it's just a little extra thread that I've wasted. Who cares? All right, I'm going to go ahead and sew the rest of the way around, and then we'll be right back. Okay, I'm done, and it really wasn't that hard. It just takes a long time for the machine to do that zigzag stitch back and forth. You can see I trimmed my edges here. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to turn this inside out when we're done. And here is my break where the drawstring is going to run. Now, all we need to do is turn the bag over here like so until we get to this edge where the string is going to go. And then we are going to take the bag and we're going to take off the front of our machine so that we can loop it around the front of the machine, and we're going to sew a line just like so all the way around, and then we can run our drawstring through the bag. All right, I'm going to set the camera up for the sewing machine and we'll be right back. Okay, now I've gone ahead and folded it over. You can't really pin this. You don't want to pin it because it's going to leave holes in your vinyl. If anything, you can use these little clips like you saw in part 1. I'm going to sew 2 times a straight stitch around the bag. One above the hole and another below the hole. That way the drawstring isn't just floating around everywhere, and it should give us a little more of a solid channel for the drawstring. All right, I'm going to make sure I start at the drawstring hole so I make sure everything is lined up with my seams, and I'm sewing right above where the drawstring will be. And I'm just going to keep a nice tug on the bottom of the fabric as it's going around the sewing machine. I don't want to pull too hard because I don't want to, you know, be pulling the fabric and stretching it so that it's all wrinkled. And I'm keeping the fabric right at the edge of the foot, which should be about a 1/4 seam allowance. But that really doesn't matter. It's all about sewing a nice even edge and getting your seams right when you get to them, which I am about there. All right, I think I've got it lined up. All right, we're in the home stretch now. Now, I should have backstitched when I first started, and I didn't, but that's okay. We are going to be running up against that seam, or that stitch right here at the end. Maybe I can do some good work and hit it right on the money. All right, so we have one line all the way around the bag, and we're going to do another line around it at the bottom of the drawstring hole. I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm all done sewing around the bag so that we could insert our drawstring. A couple things that you should probably do next time that I didn't do. You should probably hem the edge that you're going to run the drawstring first. I should have folded and hemmed that edge before I sewed all the way around. That way it would keep it from tearing at the drawstring. I don't think this material is really going to fray, so I'm not worried about it. But if you are, you could just go ahead and hem right at that hole so that you don't worry about that happening. Now we're just going to turn this inside out. Noisy parachute fabric here. And again, guys, this is camping gear. It doesn't have to look exactly perfect, but hey, you want it to look the best you can. And I mean, I want it to look good for you guys. All right, once we turn it inside out, man, I am very happy. This was the part that had originally confused me. See, we have a perfect bag, but I needed a way to attach it to the hammock. And that is why we left this little flap right here. Now I'm going to show you how we're going to attach this to the hammock and we will have a finished job. Okay, now to attach the pocket to the hammock, I'm going to do something I've never done before, which is to sew an X inside a box. I'm going to throw up a graphic right now on how we're going to do that. All right, now I'm doing 2 of them, one on each side to make sure it's nice and sturdy and doesn't come off. Now all we have to do is find the center of our hammock. Okay, we have that here. And then we're going to make sure that we're on the back side, like so. And then we're going to make sure we put the back side of our pouch onto the back side of the hammock. I'm going to use some clips to make sure it's in the right place and doesn't move around. All right, just like this. And there you can see my X's inside the boxes. And now I'm going to move over to the sewing machine and we'll show you how that looks. All right, we've got it set under the machine right in the corner of the box. And we're just going to start going slow. The nice thing is my clips are far enough away I can just leave them right there and leave the fabric clipped together. Okay, so we are going to leave the needle in place, which I forgot to do, and lift up the foot. And then we're going to turn our fabric around so we can come and do the X. Now there is a lot of fabric at play here. Oh, this is quite a pain. Well, a lot of you watch my videos because when I fail, I tend to do something seriously silly or horrible, like when we destroyed a sewing machine, my kids and I. But you know what? We're not going to fail, people. We are not going to fail at this. I'm not going to let it happen. Well, I think that is as close as I'm going to get. The nice thing about using these pencils that mark on fabric is at least it's easy to follow the lines. Although I think I've rubbed half of them off. All right, lower the needle. Which I went a little too far, and then lift the foot. All right. Now you want to make sure that you're not leaving too much fabric underneath too, because you could sew another piece of fabric there. All right, lower the foot. All right, and lower my needle. Boom! Got that one perfect. All right, the needle is down. We lift the foot. Now this diagonal is going to be much easier because there's not so much fabric to run through. All right. I feel like I might be binding up there. There we go. All right, now we need to do the last diagonal. Now the diagram showed going up and down and back and back and back around. I'm only going once around. That means I have to do one stitch twice. So I'm going to lower it down. Now which stitch do I want to do twice? I want to do the short one. All right. Let's see what we've got here. Ah! Gotta clear all this fabric out. I'm probably gonna have to re-clip it before I do the other X. Take my trusty Fisker shears and let me move the camera and we'll see what we've got. All right, well, I am pretty stoked with how good it turned out. You can see right there, X marks the spot, and it doesn't look too shabby. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other X, and then we'll be back with pictures of the finished product. Woohoo! I cannot tell you how excited I am about how this turned out. Look at that, the drawstring bag. And when you pull off the drawstring, you open up the bag, and what's inside, guys? It's a hammock. And the beauty of the way we did the drawstring is it's hidden down in the bag as well. There's our hammock. There is our pouch. where we can put a book. All right, let's see. Is my book going to fit? There's the test. Da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. Yes, it does. Boom, it can hang right on the edge of the hammock while we're reading. It can even go long ways and be completely hidden. You can throw your glasses in there. You can throw your suntan lotion in there, your wallet, your keys. It is a perfect little holding spot while you're laying in the hammock. And when you fold it all up, let's see if we can just do it messy right in front of the camera. Oh, it all goes back inside. Doesn't have to be perfect. Then we tighten it up, tuck it in. It's ready to throw in the closet. Boy, I am happy with this job. I don't think I've been happier with anything I've ever made. Thank you for joining me at dadsews.com for part 1 and 2 of how to sew a knockoff Eno hammock. I didn't put knockoff in the title, but come on, let's face it, that's what we're doing. Stick around and I'm going to show you pictures of my son swinging in this hammock. Thank you so much for watching, and please leave a comment below if you have a better idea on how to do something, or you didn't like the way I did part of it. Hey, let me know. I would love to hear it, because I'm going to be making at least 1 or 2 more of these things, and I will take your tips and hints. Thanks again, and please click subscribe. Here's a link. All right, click subscribe and tell your friends, and don't forget you can get your own Sew Fail Repeat t-shirts at dadsews.com/shop, or just click on the shop button at dadsews.com. All right, let's see my son swinging in the hammock. Hey, Ollie, do you like your hammock?
Yes.
Who sleeps in hammock?
I'm pirate.
Pirates? Are you a pirate?
Yes. I'm going to pirate.
What's in that pocket?
Ninja turtle.
Ninja Turtle.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool. All right, let's see how it's put together. There's the ropes. Cool.
And there's the Lego guy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And then Papa Shop and Ninja Turtle.
All right, can you look at the camera and give everybody a Dad Sews?
Dad Sews.
Dun 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 dun.
Dad Sews.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is how it goes with Dad Sews.
This production is brought to you by the Plaid Dad Blog Podcast Network. For more information, visit plaiddadblog.com.